Hi, everybody. I hope all my friends at our other Facebook page, ICRC Colton, found me. This is our other Facebook page for Inland Caregiver Resource Center. It's ICRC 1985, and we'll be doing the Facebook Live from this location from now on. This is our business page, and it allows us to see a lot more information and like see who's viewing and how many people are viewing and uh, just keep track of more statistics. So I hope that you'll continue to join me on this page. My name is Darlene Merkler, and I am with Inland Caregiver Resource Center, and I am here on Facebook Live every Tuesday and Thursday at noon with 15-minute tips for family caregivers. And this week, our topic is the many faces of caregiving. So I'll be doing part one today and part two on Thursday. Also, just so you know, on Wednesdays, Crystal does a Spanish Facebook Live. So today, I just wanted to talk about a little bit of information about caregiving. First of all, family caregivers, particularly women, provides 75% of caregiving support in the United States. That's a lot. So lots of family caregivers. Some of us, some of the caregivers are in what we call the sandwich generation. You've probably heard that term before, where you have children at home and your parents, and you're trying to take care of both. So the first thing I want to talk about is role changes. The caregiver's role can change in a moment or by the day. Each day is different, as you probably know. A caregiver adapts to the role changes. So, for example, a male caregiver may have never cooked or cleaned or shopped for food, but if his wife becomes ill, he suddenly becomes adept in those skills. The same thing with female caregivers. They may start managing the household, excuse me, the household finances that they've never managed money before, or they might. I know some female family caregivers who now know how to make minor repairs in the house that their husband used to take care of all the time. There's also a role reversal when it comes to an adult child and a parent. The parent becomes childlike and the adult child becomes the parent because then they have to make a lot of the decisions. So those are some of the role reversals that can happen in caregiving. So all the things that family caregivers have to do, in small doses, they're okay, but and the job is manageable, but having to juggle competing caregiver demands with demands of our own life and on an ongoing basis can be quite challenging. Often caregivers neglect themselves. We've talked about this quite a bit, this term self-care, but in the world of caregiving, self-care cannot be emphasized enough. Mantras like, before I take care of others, I must take care of myself, should be recited daily. And I know you've heard me say this several times over the last few weeks, but I was on a trip recently to see my grandchildren in Boston, and the flight attendant reminded me when she said, if in case of emergency, put your own oxygen on first before helping another person. And I've often used that analogy with family caregivers. You have to take care of yourself first before you can help someone else. Often a caregiver's worst fear is, what if something happens to them? What's going to happen to their loved one? So, important part of self-care is to ask for assistance. Sometimes that's hard for caregivers. They think that they can do it all. I was a caregiver for both my parents, so I understand that. But we have family and friends that we can ask. There are also agencies that we can ask. For instance, Inland Caregiver Resource Center and the Office on Aging, San Bernardino County or Riverside County. These agencies offer respite services, adult day programs, temporary placement, home care, and lots of other services. Homemaker assistance is sometimes needed, and minor repairs on the home. So, those are the kinds of things that we need to be comfortable asking for. The impact of caregiving can have an effect on our physical and emotional health, as many of you caregivers out there know. Family caregivers are being asked to shoulder greater burdens for longer periods of time. As you know, all of us are living much longer. And so, even if someone has a compromised health, like dementia or Alzheimer's, or they had a stroke, they're still living longer because we have so much progress in the medical field that these even people with impairments are living much longer. So conflicting demands of your job, maybe some of you are still working, you still have family at home, the increasing economic pressure and the physical and emotional demands on a long-term basis can result in major health impacts. I was just talking to a family caregiver on the phone before I got on here, and both she and her husband have health problems, and her mother lives close by, but her mother's been having a change in her condition. She's starting to be really confused and shouldn't be alone, and now here she and her husband have health problems too. So this happens quite often. Overall, caregivers who experience the greatest emotional stress tend to be females. I think that's because there are more female family caregivers than there are male. Also, I think women in general are used to handling a lot of things. We raised our children, we can juggle a lot of balls at one time. Not to say that men can't do that either, but I think women are just more used to it. Women caregivers, though, are at risk for high levels of stress, frustration, anxiety, exhaustion, anger, depression, increased use of alcohol or other substances, reduced immune response, which right now with COVID 19, we want to make sure that our immune system is healthy, poor physical health, neglecting their own care, and higher mortality rates compared to non caregivers. Most caregivers are ill prepared for their role. You know, when we first start out being a caregiver, we think, oh, I can handle this. And then as time goes on, it wears on you. So, about one-third of caregivers continue to provide intense care to others while suffering from poor health themselves. A third of the caregivers have health issues themselves. An influential factor in a caregiver's decision to place an impaired relative in a long term care facility is the family caregiver's own physical health. They just physically cannot do it any longer. Next, I want to talk about financial issues. Long term caregiving has significant financial consequences for caregivers, and particularly for women. So, informal caregivers personally lose $659,139 over a lifetime. I don't know how they came up with that figure, but uh, they're talking about 25,000 in Social Security, 67,000 in pension benefits, and 566,000 in foregone gone wages. Many times, if the family caregiver is working when they become a caregiver, they start missing time from work, they maybe go to part time, and then eventually may have to quit their job to be a caregiver. So I think that's where all those financial figures come in. And we've talked before about family caregivers and the dollar amount that that represents in the United States. So caregivers face the loss of income of the care receiver. The person they're taking care of may have been working as well. Maybe it's a husband and a wife, and the husband had to retire early. Loss of their own income if they reduce their work hours or have to leave their job. Loss of employer based medical benefits, shrinking of savings to pay for caregiving costs, and a threat to their retirement income due to fewer contributions to the pension and other retirement vehicles. Alzheimer's disease is one of the costliest chronic diseases uh, to society. The growing Alzheimer's crisis is helping to bankrupt Medicare, unfortunately. So there's a lot of dollar amounts I'm not going to go into, but they have it all figured out about how much was lost from Medicare because of Alzheimer's disease. Caregivers also have a substantial impact. Caregiving also has a substantial impact on businesses. Loss of productivity due to informal caregiving costs business $17.1 billion annually. So we don't think about these things, but if an employer is employing someone or maybe several people who are family caregivers, they're losing a lot of money because the caregiver is continually having to take time off and probably eventually quit their job. 67% of caregivers report conflicts between caregiving and employment, resulting in reduced work hours or unpaid leave. Next, I want to talk about legal issues. We had a whole presentation on this a couple of weeks ago, but it is important to make legal preparations in the event a parent becomes cognitively impaired. So you want to make these decisions while your loved one is still able to tell you what their wishes are. And I have a whole presentation on the the important documents that need to be in place, and we need to think about it for ourselves as well. Typical concerns include who will manage the confused person's money, who will make important healthcare decisions, and how to plan for long-term care. And an elder law attorney is a really good person to start with to figure all that out. Even if you can't afford to pay an attorney for their services, there are elder law attorneys who will give you a free consultation. And if you need a recommendation for one, I work with a person who will give even a 2 hour free consultation. Even if you're not going to use their services, they can at least head you in the right direction and tell you what you need to do. Okay, so well, it's almost time for us to end. So I think I'm going to end there. And on Thursday, we're going to talk about the need for supportive services, in-home and out of the home respite, and some other topics as far as your role as the caregiver. The topic for this week is the many faces of caregiving, and there are just so many things to be considered. As I said, our Facebook Lives will be on this page from now on, ICRC 1985, and we hope that you will continue to join us here. I have posted on this page and also on our other page all of our educational classes for July. Tomorrow's the first one, July 8th, 10 to 11:30. You do need to register for those. They're 1.5 hours. And tomorrow's topic is nutrition in elderly people. So even if it's not for the person you're taking care of, if you would like to hear that presentation, I'll be doing that tomorrow at 10 o'clock on Zoom. And so because it's on Zoom, you do need to register so we can send you the link for that. Also tomorrow is our Spanish Facebook Live with Crystal. And on Thursday, I'll be doing the second half of this topic, the many faces of caregiving. We also have 12 family caregiver support groups that we offer each month. I'll be starting an evening support group this month, July 16th, which is the third Thursday, 6 to 7:30 p.m. And I have posted our whole list of all of our 12 support groups on this Facebook page before as well. So I hope you can join as many of those as you like. Those are also on Zoom, and you do need to register for them, but the information is on the flyer that I have posted. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you're having a great day. A little bit warm out there today. I think it's going to be 100 today, so stay indoors and stay cool. And I'll look forward to maybe seeing you tomorrow for the educational class or on Thursday for Facebook Live. Have a great day, folks. Bye.